What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports here at the voice of college football. If you are an Alabama fan, please subscribe to our Alabama channel. You'll get Alabama football content all year round. Here are the projections for Alabama from 2021. They were 11-1 in the regular season, and we're just looking at the 12 regular season games in this video. Our projection had them at 11-1. That's what the numbers told us. I predicted them to go 12-0. I didn't see them losing a game. Yes, the odds would say that they would lose a game because they had a lot of tough games, and you saw that during the season, a lot of close games. But when it came down to each individual game, I just could not pick a team to beat them last year. Texas A&M was able to do that. Although if you look at the entire season, Alabama was a better team than Texas A&M. But that's what happens. The odds catch up to you, and a lot of times you're going to lose a game like that. You're going to lose one game when you have a schedule like that, and that's how it played out. But I didn't pull the trigger on a loss. I did have them going 12-0, but our projection did have them at 11-1, where we just looked at all the numbers, which we're about to do in just a second. The FBI projected them to go 11.1 and 1.6. Now, that includes the SEC championship. So if you say they were giving them maybe a 50-50 chance in the SEC championship, then really they were projecting them to have about 10.6 wins last season, about 10.5 wins. And then the over-under for them was at 11.5. And so, based on my prediction, I would have been over that, and I would have missed it. Our projection, though, would have been right on the money at 11-1. So let's see what the projection says about this team in 2022, an Alabama team that is absolutely loaded coming back. They should be even better than they were last year. But the schedule is a little bit tricky. They've got some tough games on the road. So let's just take a look at it. Here is that schedule. And when you try to do this projection, you look at Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, 5 road games. Is the projection going to say that Alabama can win all of those games? I mean, that's going to be pretty tough. This is the key that we're using this year. I did change it up a little bit from how we did it last year. So games that are in that 40s to 60% range, those are the 50-50 games. Basically, we'll leave those in the white. If it's less than a 19% chance or less, it's going to be in the red. 20 to 29% in orange, 30 to 39% in yellow, 61 to 70% in purple, 71 to 80% in blue. And then if it's 81% or higher, then it will be there in the green. So that's the scale that we'll be using. And when you start breaking this thing down, we start with a team like this, we're always going to start with the green, the 81% chance or higher. So over 80%. And I think you've got several games here. You've got Utah State, not a bad group of 5 team, but Alabama has no business losing to them. ULM, Vanderbilt, easy win. Mississippi State hasn't really shown that they can compete with Alabama in recent years. The game is in Tuscaloosa. Austin Peay, and even Auburn. I know it's the Iron Bowl, and some people are going to say, hold on, you cannot say that Alabama has an 80% chance or higher, over 80% chance to beat Alabama because it's the Iron Bowl. But if you just look at these two teams, and you look at where this game is going to be played, there's no real reason to think that Auburn is going to have a chance to win this game. Now, they could surprise, and we're a long ways away from the start of the season, so I could maybe change my thoughts on this game. But looking at it right now, it's just not a game that I see Alabama having really any realistic chance of losing. I mean, a slight chance, yes. Obviously, it's closer to 80% than it is 100% for Alabama, whereas, Austin Peay, ULM, they're going to be closer to 100%. But I think you can feel confident enough with these 6 games to say that Alabama is going to win these 6 games. It would be a shock if they were to lose any of these games. So we go to the next group here. We're going to go to the blue, 71 to 80%. And that's the rest of the schedule for me. I think the rest of the schedule falls in that category. Texas, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU, and Ole Miss. With Texas, I was actually close to putting them in the green, as bad as they were last year. But they're going to have some firepower on offense. The game is on the road. There is just enough there to where I'm going to put this in the blue. But I think it's closer to 80% than it is to 70%. I feel pretty good about Alabama in this game. Arkansas is a tricky game. It's on the road. Arkansas played them tough last year. It's going to be a good team again this year. That could be their Texas A&M game in 2022. So don't sleep on that one. Texas A&M might have the talent to kind of compete with Alabama, but still with the fact that it's in Tuscaloosa, and the fact that Alabama lost to them last year, and it's a revenge game, and how Nick Saban does in these revenge games, it's hard to see Alabama losing that game. Tennessee could challenge them a little bit. I just don't think they're quite there yet. LSU, Death Valley. This is probably the biggest wild card because we don't know how good LSU is going to be. We don't even know what the roster is going to look like when it comes to the start of the season. So that one is kind of tough to figure out where it should be. Possible that game should be in the purple, but it's also possible that it could wind up in the green. So that's why I'm just going to leave that in this blue category. And then Ole Miss, the same thing. They're in the blue. A team it's going to have an offense that can score some points, kind of like with Texas. Ole Miss, I think, is going to be better than Texas. So that might be their toughest game of the season, that game against Ole Miss on the road. So some tricky games, just like last year, but still games that if you just look at the percentages, Alabama should win these games. They're going to be probably a touchdown favorite in all of these games. So that's why I'm going to put them all in the blue. So then when you do the projection for Alabama, it actually comes out to 10.5 wins. So they come out to 10.5 wins when you average out these numbers. And what we're doing here is we're counting the green games as wins, going 100% on those. And then the blue ones are going to be averaged out as 75%. The purple would be 65%. The white would be 50-50 games. So when you do that and you average out these games at 75%, it comes out 10.5 wins. But I don't do half games for my projections. So the way I'm going to look at this is I'm going to say, when you look at these 6 games that are in the blue, are they closer to 80% or are they closer to 70%? Because it was right in the middle at 10.5 wins. I think it's closer to 80%, and I just don't see this team losing 2 games. I think the projection for Alabama should be at 11-1. Now, you could say 10-2 if you want to go the other way, but between 10-2 and 11-1, that's the projection for Alabama. So very similar to what it was last year. But it's similar for me looking at the schedule. Yeah, I could see them possibly losing a game, but when it comes down to each individual game, do you really, just think about it. Alabama, Texas. Do we really see Texas winning that game? No. Arkansas, probably not. Texas A&M, no. Tennessee, probably not. LSU, no. Ole Miss, probably not. So you don't really, when you kind of narrow it down, it's hard to say that there's a game that you feel confident that Alabama might lose. And so I don't want to give away my predictions, but we might do the same thing we did last year and have this team actually predicted to go 12-0. But the projection, based off of a schedule that's pretty tough, a lot of tricky road games, the projection does come out to be 11-1 for Alabama, and actually 10.5 wins was the exact projection. But we're going to go 11-1. That's the projected record, the very early projected record for Alabama in 2022.